When the door slammed in my face, I realized I wasn't just grieving the loss of Daniel, I was grieving the loss of the family I thought I had. It's funny how life can change in an instant. One moment you're surrounded by the warmth of someone you've loved for decades, and the next, they're gone. That's exactly where I am now, standing in the hallway of my own home, outside the door where my family is gathered discussing things that should matter to me. But somehow they don't want me there. My name is Clara, and for 45 years I was married to Daniel, the love of my life. We built a life together, a life filled with laughter, shared dreams, and countless memories. I thought we'd grow old together, enjoying the quiet years after raising our children. But cancer had other plans. Now here I am, standing in the hallway of the house Daniel and I built with our own hands, my heart heavy with grief. Daniel's been gone for a few months now, but the ache in my chest, the empty space beside me in our bed, it feels like it was just yesterday. The pain of his absence is still fresh, raw, and every day I wake up hoping just for a second that it's all been a bad dream. But today is different. Today I find myself left out of the very thing that should matter to me most, the future of my own life. Elizabeth, our daughter, and her husband Peter have taken control of everything. The estate, the finances, and apparently my place in this family. They've excluded me from the conversation about Daniel's inheritance, as if I no longer have a say, as if I'm no longer part of the family. I can hear their voices through the door, Elizabeth's voice, strong and assertive, Peter's more measured, and my own name mentioned now and then, like an afterthought. It stings. They've taken over everything, and I'm left standing outside feeling as though I'm no longer needed. My heart aches with the realization that the woman who once held a central place in this family, who made decisions alongside Daniel, is now being shut out. I thought I would find peace in these walls, surrounded by the memories of Daniel and the life we shared. But now, with each passing minute, I feel more and more like a stranger in my own home. Is this what grief does? Does it take you to a place where you're no longer sure of your place in the world? The house that once felt so full of love now feels cold, distant. And I can't help but wonder, where do I fit in? Now I stand frozen, my hand hovering over the door handle, unsure if I should even try to open it. From the other side, I hear the murmur of voices, Elizabeth's clear and sharp, and Peter's steady but distant. It's been months since Daniel's passing, yet the silence that follows his absence still feels so overwhelming. The house is the same, but I am not, and neither are they. Mom, we need to discuss some things about the estate. Elizabeth's voice rings through the door, cutting through the quiet. There's a tone there, a tone I'm becoming all too familiar with, a tone that no longer feels like the daughter I raised, the little girl who would climb into my lap for comfort and ask about her favorite stories. This voice sounds colder now, more controlled. I press my ear against the door, but they don't realize I can hear every word. This is a family matter, Peter adds in a neutral, detached tone. We'll let you know what's decided, Mom. Family matter. The words echo in my mind like a slap. This was my family, Daniel, me, Elizabeth, before Peter came along, before the distance began. But now here, I stand locked outside, no longer needed, not wanted. They've locked me out of something that should have been mine to share. The inheritance, the estate, the decisions about our future, not just theirs. My voice falters as I try to hold on to my dignity, to remind them that I am still part of this family. I am still Daniel's wife. But as the door clicks shut behind them, leaving me standing alone in the hallway, I feel the weight of that separation fall upon me like a heavy shroud. The family that I once belonged to, the family I thought would always include me in every decision, is now a distant memory. The feeling is unbearable. I stand there listening to the muffled voices from the other side of the door, and all at once, I am no longer Clara, the wife of Daniel, the woman who helped build this home. I am Clara, the outsider, the woman excluded from the life she's known for over 4 decades. It wasn't always this way. I remember when we first moved into this house, the one that now feels so cold and foreign. Daniel and I, young, full of hope, picked out the wallpaper together. We chose every little detail with love and care, making this house our home. Elizabeth was just a little girl then, and I remember how she would run down the hall, giggling her face, lighting up with joy, at every new corner we painted, every new piece of furniture we bought. We were a family, all of us, the three of us with our dreams and plans. It was our home, but now I stand here on the other side of a door, with my memories the only thing keeping me grounded. The warmth that once filled this space has evaporated, replaced by the cold sting of exclusion. What happened to the woman who used to be the heart of this family? What happened to the trust and love I thought we shared? I take a step back, my feet heavy on the hardwood floor as I walk toward the living room. The pictures on the walls, the ones of us at family vacations, at Elizabeth's graduations, at holidays together, are like a cruel reminder of everything I've lost. I reach for one of the frames, my fingers brushing the glass. It's a photo from a few years ago when we were still a family. I smile at the image of Daniel, so full of life, and Elizabeth beside him, her face glowing with pride. My heart aches with longing, and the emptiness inside me feels as though it could swallow me whole. It's hard to see your family, your own daughter, change so drastically. Where did she go? The sweet girl who needed me. Where did the warmth of our connection disappear to? I walk into the kitchen, the room that Daniel and I shared countless conversations in. We always sat here sharing tea in the evenings, planning for our future. There's still a little jar of honey on the counter, the one he used to sweeten his tea, and the cup he always used chipped on the rim, but so familiar. I feel a pang in my chest. It's hard to believe he's gone, that he's never going to sit here again and tell me about his day. I pour myself a cup of tea, trying to ground myself, but it doesn't help. My hands tremble as I set the kettle down. I should be strong. Daniel would have wanted me to be strong. But as I sit there sipping tea, trying to calm my nerves, I feel like I'm losing everything I once knew my place in the family, the connection with my daughter, even my sense of identity. The door opens behind me, and I turn to see Elizabeth standing in the doorway, her face tight with resolve. I don't know if it's the grief that makes her look so different now, or if it's something else entirely, but whatever it is, I don't recognize her anymore. "Mom," she says, her tone soft but still distant. "We've got everything under control. You don't need to worry about anything." The words sting, but I swallow them down. What could I possibly say? That I do worry. That I'm afraid not just for the future of this house, but for the future of our relationship. That I can feel the distance growing between us, and I don't know how to stop it. But no, instead, I simply nod. "Okay," I say quietly, my voice betraying nothing. "I trust you." But inside, I feel my world crumble a little more. I've always trusted my daughter. Always. Even when she was a child, even when she made mistakes, I stood by her. But now I feel like she's a stranger to me. "Everything will be fine, Mom," she says a little too brightly. She pats me on the shoulder, her hand cold and impersonal, as though it's more of a gesture to comfort herself than to comfort me. I nod again, unable to find the words. My own daughter is telling me she'll take care of everything. But I don't feel cared for. I don't feel like part of this family anymore. As the door closes behind her, I remain sitting at the table, the empty space beside me where Daniel once sat, feeling like a void that cannot be filled. I look around the kitchen, trying to find something familiar, something to hold on to, but it all feels so distant now, so disconnected. I realize that the real grief I'm facing isn't just the loss of Daniel. It's the realization that my place in this family is no longer secure. I've been replaced, pushed aside. And it hurts. As I sit in the silence, I think about what Daniel would say if he were here. Would he recognize the changes in Elizabeth too? Would he have seen the signs before they ever became so glaring? I don't know. But I do know one thing: I can't just sit back and let them take everything from me. Not the house, not the memories, and not my place in this family. I have to find my voice again. For Daniel, for myself, for the woman I once was and the woman I still can be. The quiet of the kitchen is broken only by the soft clink of the spoon, stirring tea, the warm familiar scent of chamomile filling the air. It's a moment that should feel comforting, a space that once represented the warmth of home, of shared experiences. But now, sitting here, the memories swirl around me like dust in a room that hasn't been touched in too long. I can't help but remember that night. The night Daniel called me into the kitchen just a few months before his health took its final devastating turn. He'd been getting weaker, but his mind was still sharp. His voice still carried that familiar strength. That evening, the air in the room felt different. There was a heaviness, a quiet urgency I couldn't quite place at the time. "Clara," Daniel said, his voice low but firm. He leaned back in his chair, his pale hands resting on the table. His gaze was focused, but there was something else in his eyes, a mix of sadness and concern that I hadn't seen before. It was like he was seeing something that I couldn't. I was used to his quiet, methodical nature. Daniel was always the one who took care of the details, the one who made sure everything was in order. I admired him for that. But tonight, something was different. There was an edge to his words, a sense of urgency that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. "I've been thinking about what happens after I'm gone?" He began, his voice thick with emotion. It was a conversation I wasn't ready to have, but I knew better than to avoid it. We'd been through so much together. The thought of life without him felt impossible, but I didn't argue. I just sat there waiting for him to continue. "I need you to promise me something, Clara," he said, leaning forward, his eyes locking with mine. "Promise me you'll be ready." At the time, I didn't fully understand what he meant. Ready for what we were facing, his illness together, trying to navigate a world that seemed to crumble more with each passing day. I thought it was just his way of asking me to be strong, to be prepared for the inevitable. I nodded, reassuring him as best as I could, though my heart ached with the weight of his words. "Of course, Daniel. I promise," I had said, my voice steady, even though the pain inside me threatened to break through. I had no idea what he was truly asking for, but I wanted to believe that the worst of it was still a long way off. He smiled faintly, though it didn't reach his eyes. "I know you'll be strong, Clara, but promise me don't let anyone take advantage of you, especially not Elizabeth and Peter." His words struck me like a lightning bolt, sharp and sudden, and I didn't know how to respond. Elizabeth, our daughter, and Peter, her husband, had always been part of our lives. They'd visited us frequently, helped with things when Daniel's health began to fail, and I'd never imagined that they would cause any harm. But there it was, his warning. And now, as I sit here in the same kitchen where those words were spoken, I realize just how much he had seen, how much he had known. "You think they'll try something?" I asked quietly, unable to hide the confusion in my voice. It didn't make sense to me then. Daniel's gaze never left mine. "I don't know, Clara, but I've seen enough. I've seen how they look at things, the way Peter's been asking about the finances, the way Elizabeth seems to have changed. I need you to be careful. If anything happens, if I'm not around, I need you to be ready. You'll have to look out for yourself. Promise me you won't let them take control." I remember feeling a twinge of doubt, wondering if his fear was just a product of his illness, his mind clouded by the pain, by the uncertainty of his future. After all, Elizabeth and Peter had always been a part of our family. Why would they do anything to hurt me? Why would they take advantage of the situation? But Daniel's eyes were so sure, so filled with conviction, and I trusted him. He had never steered me wrong, so I promised him just as I always did, even when I didn't fully understand. "I promise," I said, though the words felt heavy, like a burden I wasn't quite ready to carry. Daniel nodded, his expression softening just a little. "Good," he whispered. "I knew I could count on you." That night after we finished talking, I helped him into bed. We didn't speak of it again, but those words, "Promise me you'll be ready," haunted me. I didn't know what he meant, not fully, not then. But now, standing here in this house without him, I realize what he was really asking. I should have listened more closely. I should have asked more questions. But in the days that followed, Daniel's health took a sharp turn for the worse, and the weight of his warning seemed to fade in the chaos of hospital visits, doctor's appointments, and the relentless grip of his illness. We didn't have time for conversations like that. We were too busy holding on to whatever moments we had left. Looking back now, I can see it so clearly. Daniel wasn't just worried about his illness. He was worried about what would happen after he was gone. He knew that Elizabeth and Peter had already begun to plan to prepare for a world where he wouldn't be around to protect me. They were making decisions about his estate, about our future, without me. They were already taking control, and Daniel knew it. A few weeks before he passed, Daniel had quietly updated his will. He didn't tell me about it, but he made sure everything was in place to protect me. He knew that if he didn't, there would be nothing to stop them from taking everything. Now, as I sit in this house, with the echoes of Daniel's warning ringing in my ears, I understand everything. He had seen it. He had known exactly what they were planning. And in the quiet moments in the final months of his life, he took steps to ensure that I would be safe from betrayal, safe from the very people I had trusted the most. I glanced toward the desk where the updated will now rests, a final testament to Daniel's foresight. The weight of it is heavy, but not as heavy as the realization that he was right all along. I should have been ready. And now, as I hold the key to the safe deposit box, I know it's time to see what Daniel left for me, what he knew would happen. Time to see the proof of his warnings, the protection he so carefully laid out for me, even if it meant keeping it from me until the very end. Promise me you'll be ready, Clara. His voice echoes in my mind as I stand at the edge of the truth he left for me to uncover. It's time to be ready now. For everything. The key feels heavier in my hand than it ever has before, a small, cold piece of metal that has somehow come to symbolize the weight of everything I've been trying to understand. Daniel's final wish. The warning. The betrayal. And now, as I walk through the quiet, sterile hallways of the bank, I feel the trembling weight of it all pressing down on me more than ever. Each step towards that safe deposit box feels like a step further away from the life I once knew, the life I thought I had, with my family. The bank is almost too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes everything feel suffocating. I glance at the bank manager as he leads me to the private room where I will examine the contents of Daniel's box. He doesn't say much. He doesn't need to. I'm sure he's seen this type of thing before. People come in, they discover what they were never meant to know, and it changes everything. I wonder if he ever gets used to it. I know I won't. The room is small, but the steel of the deposit box gleams in front of me, and I suddenly feel like I can't breathe. For so long I thought I was simply grieving Daniel's loss, but now I realize I was grieving the loss of my family too, the family that I thought I had, the family that was just as broken as I was, but I never saw it until now, until this very moment. The manager unlocks the box, and I don't hesitate. I don't even take a second to breathe. I reach inside and pull out the first thing I see, a thick manila envelope with my name written in bold, familiar handwriting across the front. My fingers tremble as I open it, and I immediately know that this will be the moment that changes everything. My heart is beating so loudly in my chest, I can barely hear the manager leave the room. I open the envelope, and there it is, the will. The one Daniel updated just months before his death. The one he'd kept hidden from everyone. My stomach twists as I skim through the legal jargon, but it doesn't take long to understand the meaning. Daniel left everything to me. Everything. The house, the investments, all of it. It's all mine. I swallow hard, a knot forming in my throat. For the first time in months, I feel the smallest flicker of relief. Daniel had done what he promised me. He had protected me. Even when I didn't know it, He'd ensured that I wouldn't be left vulnerable, that Elizabeth and Peter wouldn't take everything from me, that I wouldn't be left with nothing but the memories of a life we built together. But that's not all that's in the envelope. Behind the will, I find a letter from Daniel, handwritten in the familiar, strong strokes of his pen. The words are short, but they hit me harder than anything else in the box. Clara, I'm sorry. I didn't want to burden you with this, but I couldn't leave without knowing you would be safe. Elizabeth and Peter have been planning to take control of everything. I've seen the way they've been manipulating you. I know you didn't want to see it, but now you have to. Protect yourself. The documents are in this folder. I've made sure they won't be able to take anything from you. Please trust me. The letter is simple, but it stirs up something deep within me. The betrayal I couldn't see before is now right in front of me. Daniel knew. He knew everything. He'd seen it coming long before I ever did, and he took steps to make sure that I wouldn't be caught off guard. But now that it's real, now that it's here, I'm not sure what to feel. Anger, shock, betrayal, maybe all of those things. I set the letter down gently and pull out the folder Daniel mentioned. It's thick, much thicker than I expected. My hands are shaking as I flip through the pages, and the more I read, the more my heart sinks. There are bank statements, loan applications, power of attorney documents, all bearing my name. But they are not my signatures. I never signed these. Each document reveals something more damning than the last: the financial scheming, the deception, the forgeries. They had been planning this for months, using me as a pawn in their game. Elizabeth and Peter had systematically been taking control of the money of the house, of everything Daniel and I worked for. They forged my signature on loans, took out credit, and borrowed money without my knowledge or consent. And they had been doing this while Daniel was still alive, while he was struggling with his illness. I feel a chill run through me as I look at the documents. My own daughter, the one I raised, the one I loved unconditionally. How could she do this? How could she be a part of something so cruel? It's hard to comprehend. It's hard to reconcile the loving daughter I thought I knew with the woman who would do this. The anger swells inside me, but it's tempered with something else, too: betrayal and fear. I take a deep breath and pull out the next item in the box, a USB drive. My heart races as I plug it into the computer that's been left on the desk in the room. There's only one file. I click on it. Daniel's face fills the screen. It's thinner than I remember, more gaunt from the illness, but his eyes are as sharp as ever. His voice is steady, though it cracks slightly with emotion. Debbie, my love. Daniel begins using the name he always called me. If you're watching this, then you've seen the will. I'm sorry to leave you with this burden, but you need to know the truth. I've seen what Elizabeth and Peter are doing, how they've been trying to take control of everything. They've been borrowing money, forging your signature, and planning to put you in an assisted living facility not because you need it, but because it will give them free reign over our life's work. I found the loan applications. They've borrowed nearly $200,000 in your name. I've changed the will to protect you. Everything goes to you with specific provisions to make sure they can't touch it. The screen fades to black, and for a long moment I sit there frozen in place. The weight of what I've just seen is too much to comprehend in one sitting. My own daughter, my own flesh and blood, had been plotting against me. I can't even wrap my mind around it. How did this happen? How did I miss the signs? I reach for the folder again, flipping through the documents, hoping I missed something, hoping that somehow this was all a mistake. But there's no mistake. It's all there plain as day. My hands tremble as I gather the documents, trying to make sense of it all, trying to come to terms with the fact that Elizabeth and Peter had been planning this using my grief as a weapon. I close my eyes for a moment, taking a steadying breath. Daniel had been right. He knew. And now I understand why he asked me to be ready. It wasn't just the loss of him. It was the loss of my family as I knew it. And now I have to face the truth of what they were willing to do. But one thing is certain: Daniel made sure I wouldn't face it alone. He left me the truth, and now it's time to take action. It's time to make sure his warning wasn't in vain. The house is eerily silent when I return, the weight of the discovery still heavy in my hands. I've spent hours sifting through the documents, trying to comprehend the full extent of what Daniel had uncovered. It's one thing to hear the words, but another to see the proof: bank statements forged, signatures, and loan documents. My own daughter's name scribbled on the pages I never signed. The betrayal stings. But there's something else beneath the anger, something far deeper: heartbreak. I can feel the tears welling up behind my eyes, but I swallow them back. I don't have the luxury of breaking down right now, not with everything at stake, not with the weight of Daniel's warning still echoing in my ears. I walk into the living room, my steps slow, my heart thundering in my chest. Elizabeth and Peter are sitting together, their heads bent low in conversation. They stop when they hear me, their eyes flicking up with that same detachment that has come to define them in my mind. I take a deep breath before I speak, trying to steady my voice. "I need to talk to you both." I say, my voice barely above a whisper, but there's something in it that makes them sit up straighter, a quiet resolve. They can see that something has changed in me, that I'm no longer the woman they used to control with their charm and manipulation. Elizabeth doesn't say anything at first, but I see her glance at Peter. There's a brief exchange between them, a silent communication that I'm no longer a part of. It's almost like I'm invisible, but I won't let them treat me like this anymore. I've seen everything I say, my voice cracking slightly, but not enough to weaken me. Everything Daniel left behind. I know what you've been doing. Elizabeth's face hardens, and Peter shifts in his seat, looking uncomfortable. But they both stay quiet, not wanting to engage just yet. I take the envelope out of my bag, Daniel's last words to me, and lay it on the table between us. The documents inside it feel like bricks, heavy with the weight of their deception. I know about the loans, the forged signatures. I continue, my voice shaking with a mix of grief and rage. I know about the accounts you've been opening in my name, and I know what you've been planning to do with the house, to sell it, to put me in a care facility, not because I need it, but because it gives you control. You've been using me. You've been taking everything from me while Daniel was still alive and after he passed. You've been planning for this. At first, they don't say anything. The silence stretches between us thick with the tension of unspoken truths. But then Elizabeth speaks, her voice cold and dismissive, like she's talking to a child who doesn't understand the situation. "Mom, you're confused," she says, her words laced with that practiced sweetness. "You're still grieving, and that's clouding your judgment. These documents, they don't mean anything. We were just helping you, making sure everything is in order. Dad would have wanted us to take care of things. You've never been good with finances. You've always left that to Dad." Her words hit me like a slap in the face. How can she say that to me? We were just helping you. I spent years of my life managing this home, raising her, loving her. And now she's using my grief against me, accusing me of being too weak to see the truth. Peter chimes in, his voice low, smooth. "Clara, you're letting your emotions get the best of you. We're just doing what's necessary, what's best for you. You'll see that in time. You'll be glad we took charge. I want to scream at them to make them feel what I'm feeling right now, the sting of betrayal, the hollow emptiness of being cast aside by the people I've loved most. But I hold it in. I can't afford to let my emotions get in the way of what I need to do. I have to fight for what's mine." I reach into my bag and pull out the forged documents. One by one, I lay them on the table, my hands trembling slightly as I slide them across to them. "You think I'm confused?" I ask, my voice steady, despite the whirlwind inside me. "You think I'm imagining things? Look at these. Look at the forgeries. My signature wasn't on any of these documents. You forged my name." Elizabeth's face pales, and for the first time I see the smallest flicker of guilt in her eyes. But it's quickly masked by anger. She looks at Peter, and for a moment it feels like I'm watching them rehearse a scene they've played 1,000 times, deny, deflect, deceive. "That's not true." Elizabeth spits, her voice venomous now. Dad trusted us. He asked us to help you. We did everything we could for you, but now you're accusing us of something we never did. I stand my ground, refusing to back down. You've been planning this for months, Elizabeth. I've seen the recordings. I've seen the conversations you had with Peter. You talked about how to control me, how to make sure I'd sign over the power of attorney while I was grieving. You've been lying to me for so long I didn't even see it. But Daniel saw it, and he made sure I'd be protected. There's a long, tense pause as the weight of my words settles in. Elizabeth and Peter exchange a look, but it's no longer the confident, practiced glance they used to share. There's uncertainty in their eyes now, fear, even. But it's too late for that. Daniel knew what you were doing, I say softly, but with a resolve that shocks even me. He knew, and he made sure I had everything I needed to fight back. You're not going to get away with this. For a moment, no one speaks. The silence between us is deafening the air, thick with unspoken truths. Then in a flash, Elizabeth's composure cracks. She slams her fist on the table, her voice shaking with rage. You don't understand, she screams. We did this for you. For your own good. You don't need this house. You don't need any of it. Your old mom. You're forgetful. We were just trying to help you. Her words sting like a whip. But I don't flinch. Instead, I sit back, my gaze unwavering, as I look at the daughter I once knew. This isn't about the house, or the money, or anything else they've convinced themselves of. This is about control. This is about stripping me of everything I worked for, everything I held dear, while hiding behind a facade of concern. You've taken everything, Elizabeth, I say quietly, the words coming out with a strength I didn't know I had, and now I'm taking it back. The anger on Elizabeth's face falters, replaced by something darker, fear perhaps. But Peter, ever the strategist, tries to regain control, his voice softening in a failed attempt at persuasion. Clara, you don't want to do this. Think about the consequences. We can all work this out without it getting messy, but it's too late for that. The truth has been laid bare, and I won't allow them to manipulate me any longer. No, I say, standing up. It's time for you both to face the consequences of your actions. I won't let you take anything more from me. I turn to leave, but before I step out of the room, I pause and glance back at them. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine. And with that, I walk out, leaving behind the people who were once my family, who are now nothing more than strangers to me. I won't be silenced. I won't be pushed aside. I will fight for what is mine, and I will win. The days following the confrontation feel like a blur. I've never been someone to back down from a challenge, but it's different. This isn't just a fight for my rights, my home, or the money I've spent a lifetime building. This is a battle for my very identity, for the life I thought I shared with the people I loved most. The sting of betrayal hasn't dulled. It's still fresh, raw, and the more I think about it, the harder it becomes to swallow. But I won't be defeated. Not now. Not when Daniel's last act of love and protection is sitting in front of me, his will, his recordings, his unwavering belief in my strength. The truth is in my hands, and now I'm going to make sure Elizabeth and Peter see it, no matter how much they try to twist it. I gather the documents Daniel's updated, the letter, the forged signatures, and drive to Walter Griffin's office. He was Daniel's lawyer for years, and now he's become the man who will help me defend what's rightfully mine. I walk into his office with a sense of purpose, but also with a heavy heart. This is not how I imagined I'd spend my days, not how I thought I'd be fighting for my future. But here we are, and I'll fight like Daniel would have wanted me to. Clara, Walter greets me with a kind smile, though I can see the concern in his eyes. I'm sorry you've had to go through all this. I didn't have a choice. I reply, my voice steady, but edged with the grief I've been carrying. But I'm not going to let them get away with it. Not when Daniel took every step to protect me. He nods, gesturing for me to sit. I've reviewed everything you brought. It's clear that Daniel had foresight. He knew something was wrong, and he made sure you'd be protected. But now we need to move forward with this carefully. We'll need to make sure everything is legally airtight. I take a deep breath and place the pile of documents on his desk. The truth is, sitting there waiting to be exposed. I need your help, Walter. I need to make sure Elizabeth and Peter can't take what's mine. They've already tried and they'll do anything to get away with it. Walter flips through the pages, his expression growing more serious as he reads the letter from Daniel and the forged documents. He stops for a moment, looking up at me. "Clara," he says, his voice calm but firm, "this is not just a simple matter of a will. This is about financial fraud forgery and a deliberate attempt to deceive you. Daniel had everything in order. He took steps to protect you, but we need to be careful about how we approach this. Elizabeth and Peter are not going to let this go easily." I nod. I already know that. I've seen the way they've reacted, the way they've tried to make me doubt myself. But I'm done doubting. I know I say my voice unwavering. But they're not going to win. Not this time. Walter looks at me with a mixture of admiration and concern. "We'll make sure they don't. But remember, this won't be easy. The legal battle won't be quick and it won't be painless. But you have the truth on your side, and that's the most important thing." I leave his office with a sense of determination that I haven't felt in a long time. For the first time since Daniel's death, I feel like I have control again. The legal fight is about to begin, and I'll be ready for whatever comes next. The next few days are a whirlwind of legal meetings, paperwork, and phone calls. Walter handles everything with precision, making sure all the legal steps are followed, while I focus on preparing myself for the inevitable confrontation that's coming. Elizabeth and Peter won't take this lying down. I know they'll try to fight back to twist the truth and manipulate the situation to their advantage, but I've already seen the depth of their deception. I won't let them get away with it. I don't hear from Elizabeth or Peter for a while, which only makes me more suspicious. I know they're plotting, trying to figure out their next move, but it's the silence that's the hardest part. I remember when we were a family, when everything was out in the open, when we trusted each other without hesitation. That trust has been shattered, and now all that's left is the bitter sting of betrayal. But even as the battle looms, there's something else inside me, something stronger than the anger, the pain, and the fear. There's a sense of clarity, a sense of purpose. Daniel's protection, his foresight, has given me the strength I need to fight for what's mine, for the life I've built, for the love we shared. I won't let them take that from me. The day of the legal meeting arrives, and I know it's time. Elizabeth and Peter are going to face the consequences of their actions. They have no idea what's coming. I meet Walter at his office, and together we prepare for the confrontation. When Elizabeth and Peter walk in, they look different. They're trying to act confident, but I can see it in their eyes. The truth is starting to sink in. They don't know it yet, but they're already losing. Walter begins the meeting outlining the legal steps we're taking to ensure that everything Daniel left behind will go to me. Elizabeth and Peter are still trying to play their part, still trying to act like they have control. But as we go through the documents, Daniel's updated will, the recordings he made, the forged signatures, it becomes clear that their carefully laid plans are unraveling right before their eyes. Elizabeth's face pales as Walter reads through the will. Peter shifts uncomfortably in his seat, his eyes flicking back and forth between me and the documents. They're starting to realize that they've underestimated me, that they've underestimated Daniel's foresight. "You don't have to do this," Clara Elizabeth says, her voice shaking with frustration. "You don't understand. We were just trying to help you. We were looking out for you." I look at her, my heart heavy but resolute. "You were looking out for yourselves, Elizabeth. You and Peter have been planning this for months. I'm not the one who doesn't understand. You're the ones who thought you could get away with it." Peter's face turns red with anger. "This is ridiculous," he spits. "You can't just take everything from us." But I don't back down. "You're not taking anything from me, Peter. This was never yours to take." Walter leans forward, his voice firm, as he addresses them both. "The legal battle is already in motion, and I can assure you Clara has every right to everything Daniel left her. There's nothing you can do to change that." Elizabeth and Peter sit in stunned silence. The shock is evident on their faces as they process the reality of what's happening. They've lost, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. As they leave the office, their expressions are twisted with a mixture of disbelief and anger. I watch them go, feeling a strange sense of peace settling over me. The battle isn't over yet, it's only just begun. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm on the winning side. I won't let them take what's mine, not my home, not my memories, not my family. What Daniel left behind, I will protect with everything I have. And if it takes every last ounce of my strength, I'll fight until the very end. The days that follow the legal confrontation are a blur, and the weight of everything I've had to endure starts to settle into my bones like a slow, relentless ache. The dust hasn't quite settled, and yet I can already feel the shift within me. Something has changed, something deep inside. The fight isn't over, but a part of me feels like I'm finally waking up from a long, painful slumber. The truth, raw and painful as it is, has set something in motion that I can't ignore. As soon as I step back into the house, I know I have to take control. It's no longer just a matter of fighting for what's mine, it's about reclaiming my space, my life. Elizabeth and Peter have stolen enough from me, and I won't let them take any more. I don't hesitate. I walk straight to the door and change the locks. I think back to the day we moved in here, the day Daniel and I picked out these locks together, and I realize how much those little things, those little moments meant to me. It was never just about the house. It was about the life we built together. A life that now feels like a distant memory, like it belongs to someone else. But the locks, these simple, tangible things, are the last piece of what remains. I don't need them to remind me of what I've lost, but I need them to remind me that I can still protect what's mine. The new locks click into place, and it's like a weight lifts off my shoulders. It's a small thing, but it feels like I've taken the first real step toward regaining control. I'm no longer just the grieving widow. I'm Clara, the woman who will fight for herself, who will stand up to the people who think they can walk all over her. But even as I take these steps, my heart is heavy. The grief that's been lingering, aching, and raw becomes more complicated now. Before it was simple. Daniel's death was the cause of my pain, his absence. But now I have to contend with the fact that the people I thought I could trust, the people I raised, the ones I gave everything to, have betrayed me. The pain of losing Daniel was already overwhelming, but now it's compounded by the fact that Elizabeth, my own daughter, played a part in it. I keep thinking about her, about the girl I raised, the woman I thought I knew. How could she do this? How could she, my own flesh and blood, turn against me like this? The emotional toll is suffocating. One moment I'm dealing with the loss of my husband, the man I spent half my life with. The next I'm grappling with the loss of the family I thought I had. But as I sit in the silence of the house, the stillness surrounding me, something else starts to settle in. It's subtle at first, like a whisper in the back of my mind. But the more I think about it, the more I realize I'm free. Free from the lies, free from the manipulation, free from the people who tried to take everything from me thinking I wouldn't notice. For the first time in a long time, I can breathe. There's a strange sense of liberation that washes over me, and it's almost as if a heavy fog has lifted from my soul. I have nothing left to lose. The worst has already happened. The pain, the betrayal, it's all out in the open now. And in a way that makes everything clearer. I no longer have to fight in the dark, unsure of what's happening. I know what they've done. I know what they tried to take. And now I know how strong I am, stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. This wasn't the life I imagined for myself, not at this stage. I never thought I'd be here fighting to protect what Daniel and I built. But now that I'm in the middle of it, I realize something important. This isn't just about the house. It's not just about the money. It's about my dignity, my identity, the woman I am and the woman I've always been. And I'm not going to let anyone, not even my daughter, take that from me. As the days go on, I find myself spending more time in the kitchen. It's the room where Daniel and I spent countless evenings sharing meals, sharing stories, making plans for the future. I look at the window garden we planted together where the rosemary and thyme still thrive despite the emptiness in the house. It feels like a small victory, like a tiny piece of the past that hasn't been stolen from me. But even here, the grief is a constant companion. It never truly leaves. It lingers in the corners of the house, in the quiet spaces Daniel used to fill. I catch myself at times waiting for him to come around the corner to hear his voice, his footsteps on the floor. But there's nothing, just the silence. And yet in that silence there's something else, a quiet strength that I didn't know I had. I know I'm not the same woman I was before. I'll never be that woman again. The woman who trusted without question, who believed in the family I had. That woman is gone. But in her place there's a new version of me, someone who has been broken, yes, but who has also been rebuilt. Someone who understands now perhaps more than ever that my life is mine to control, no one else's. I can't change what happened, and I can't undo the betrayal, but I can choose how to move forward, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rebuild my life, piece by piece, on my terms. The phone rings, breaking my thoughts, and for a moment I hesitate. The caller ID shows Elizabeth's name. I let it ring for a moment longer, my hand hovering over the receiver. I haven't spoken to her since the confrontation, since the legal battle began. The pain of what happened, of how she betrayed me, is still too raw, but I can't keep running away from it. I have to face her eventually. I take a deep breath and pick up the phone. Hello. There's a long pause on the other end of the line before she speaks. Mom, it's me. Her voice is softer than I remember, hesitant, like she's trying to find the right words. I want to hang up. I want to tell her that there's nothing left to say, that I'm done. But I don't. Instead, I listen. I've been thinking a lot, Elizabeth continues, about everything, about us. And I know I can't change what I've done, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. For everything. I wasn't thinking clearly. And I don't want to lose you. I close my eyes for a moment, the words hanging in the air between us. I never thought I'd hear those words from her, not after everything that's happened. You've already lost me, Elizabeth. I say quietly, the pain in my chest resurfacing. You've already lost me. But maybe one day we can find our way back. I don't know. But right now, I need time. She's silent for a long time. I understand, she finally says, and I can hear the tears in her voice. I really do. I hang up the phone, my heart heavy, but somehow lighter at the same time. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if we'll ever be the same again. But I know one thing for sure, I'm ready for whatever comes next. I've taken back control of my life, and I'll never let go again. Months have passed since the chaos, and though the pain of betrayal still lingers in my chest, there's something different about today. The air feels lighter, and the house, once a place of tension and uncertainty, now feels like it's finally becoming mine again. I've been rebuilding slowly, piece by piece, and each step I take forward feels like a small victory. I've started small with new routines, things that bring me peace, things that remind me that I'm still here, still strong, still capable of creating a future, no matter how different it looks. The mornings are quieter now without Daniel's comforting presence, but I find solace in the simplicity of it. A cup of tea in the garden, a walk through the neighborhood, the warmth of the sun on my skin. I've also planted a garden in the backyard. It's my sanctuary, a place where I can breathe, where I can reflect, without the weight of the past pressing down on me. The soil feels grounding in my hands, and as I plant each flower, I feel a sense of renewal, a sense of reclaiming a life that felt lost for a while. The rosemary and thyme Daniel and I once planted together are still thriving, reminding me of our shared history. But there's something new taking root here too, something all my own. As I work in the garden, I reflect on Daniel's legacy. It's not just the house or the savings he left behind. It's the wisdom he imparted to me in those final months, the lessons on standing tall, on protecting myself, on never allowing anyone to take my voice or my worth. His foresight, his love, his strength, they've shaped me into someone different, someone unbreakable. And now, with each seed I plant, I feel more connected to the woman he wanted me to be. One day, as I sit in the garden sipping my tea and watching the flowers sway in the breeze, an unexpected email pings into my inbox. It's from Elizabeth. The words are tentative, uncertain, and olive branch, a sign that maybe, just maybe, she's starting to understand the weight of her actions. My heart clenches as I read it. The wound's still raw, but there's something else too. Hope. Hope that healing might be possible. But it will only happen on my terms, and it will take time. As I read the email, I feel the stirrings of something new inside me. I'm no longer the woman who was blindsided by betrayal. I'm no longer the woman who was drowning in grief. I'm Clara, a woman reshaped by loss, but also by strength, resilience, and a deep understanding of my own worth. In the quiet of my study, I begin to write. The words flow freely as I pour my heart into a memoir, a testament to everything I've been through and everything I've overcome. I title it, The Last Legacy, not just about the material things Daniel left behind, but about the unbreakable spirit that has carried me through the darkest days. It's my story now, my new beginning. The story of Clara and the pain she endures through betrayal, loss, and ultimately her rediscovery of strength is not just a personal journey, it's a reflection of how we often allow others to shape our worth. It's a reminder that sometimes the people we trust most, those closest to us, can be the ones who hurt us the deepest. But it also highlights the incredible power of resilience, the strength to rise from the ashes of betrayal and rebuild not just our lives, but our very sense of self. Too often we let the opinions and actions of others define us. We lose ourselves in relationships, in the expectations of those around us, thinking that if we just please them, if we just sacrifice enough, we'll find happiness. But the truth is, no one can give us our worth. It's something we must reclaim for ourselves. Clara's journey is a powerful testament to the importance of self-protection, self-love, and self-reclamation. Her transformation shows us that while betrayal may break us, it doesn't have to define us. It can fuel us to stand taller, stronger, and prouder than we ever thought possible. Let Clara's story serve as a call to action, to examine the relationships in our own lives, to ask ourselves if we are truly living for ourselves or for others. Are we protecting our hearts, our dignity, and our self-worth? It's time to take control of your own life, just like Clara did. You are stronger than you think. Don't let anyone take that away from you. What are your thoughts? How do you reclaim your strength after facing betrayal? Share your stories or reflections in the comments below. Let's start a conversation.